Hey guys, welcome back to our repair guys. In today's video guys, we're going to go ahead and show you how to remove or replace piston or connecting rod, piston connecting rod on Hyundai Elantra guys, generation 2011 to 2016-17. I think even 18 uses the same engine. This is for the 1.8, a new engine. The 2.0, the procedure might be the same, but just double check everything, okay? Because most of the components are interchangeable. Okay, that's the piston. We replaced our pistons. We had the engine block bored out, so stay with us and we'll see the whole process. We have more than 200 videos, how-to videos on this car. We'll be taking everything apart. So please guys subscribe, give a like. Also check out our official Facebook page. It's called Auto Repair guys. Please give a like and let's start on it now. So the first step will be to drain the oil out of the oil pan, so that way we don't make a mess when we remove it. Even though we will drain the oil, get a cardboard or something like that, because it will keep dripping oil once you remove the oil pan. So 17mm socket, and we'll remove the oil plug now. After that we will let it drain for a few minutes, and once it's empty we'll come back to it. Okay, we're ready to install the drain plug now. So next we'll need a 10mm socket, and we'll be removing that plastic there, otherwise we will not be able to remove the oil pan. On the side, okay, and it came out of there. Next you can see that plastic will need to be removed because there is bolts underneath it. So we'll be using the same 10mm, well 12mm now. Okay. We'll remove that plate right there that connects to the bell housing. Okay, like that. And you have to be careful not to drop on you towards the end, not to leak oil on you. Wear glasses, eye protection. That impact is pretty handy, it saves you so much time. Now the oil pan is stuck, it has silicone. I don't think it has a gasket, it's just a silicone. So you need to push a little bit more up, don't go down because you bend the oil pan. Okay, let's see if it's going to get loose. Okay. You have some oil in it again. You can see how stuck it is. All the silicone will need to be cleaned as well. So you can see oil pan is out of the way now. All that will need to be cleaned really good to make sure you don't have any silicone left when you're ready to install the oil pan later. And also you need to clean the top surface of the pan here, not to be greasy at all. And you have to apply the silicone and just put it and install it on the car. So we use that impact here now, 1/2 inch impact. Pretty powerful. All the tools that we use will be listed in the description of the video below. The compressor, that little pancake compressor, goes all the way to 165 psi. So it will be amazing for that job because it will give us quite a bit of boost in the beginning so we can remove that bolt. Like counterclockwise now to try to get the bolt loose. Okay, and you can see with just a little bit of air, okay, that crankshaft pulley bolt came out. Okay, now you can grab it. It's a keyed crankshaft pulley, so it goes only one certain way, okay, and we pulled it out just like that. So the first step will be to remove that valve cover. You just pull it straight out. After that we need to pull the dipstick out. So you just pull it straight out. Okay, after that we're going to disconnect all the wiring harness here. Pretty simple. So we need to go ahead, disconnect the ignition coils one by one. You pull that gray piece back a little bit, press on it and pull it out. Okay, next you can see that hose, that wiring harness is in the way there as well. This is for the exhaust VVT solenoid, so you need to disconnect it on the back side. Okay, you lift that thing up and you pull the wire out. Now we need to disconnect the wiring harness from the valve cover. With small pliers, okay, you can press the two things together so you don't damage the clamp. Okay, perfect. And you can see that the wiring harness is out of the way now. So after that, this hose will need to be disconnected as well. And one more, 2 breather hoses. If those are stuck, you can gently move them left and right until they come loose. Careful not to break anything. Push on the metal piece to disconnect the camshaft position sensors. Okay, just like that. After that we'll remove the camshaft position sensors. Both of them are interchangeable, so even if you forget which one is which, it doesn't matter how you install them. Okay, all the tools, guys, that we use and parts will be listed in the description of the video below, so please check it out. Now we'll disconnect all of the ignition coils one by one, removing the bolts, and we'll pull them straight up. Okay, just like that. Now we need to start removing the valve cover. So we go around and we remove all the bolts with 10mm socket. There are some inside there, and you have to be very careful not to drop your tools inside. The ones towards the back we have to reach with the ratchet. Once you get them loose, they go by hand pretty easy. So again guys, we have more than 200 videos on this car. If you need anything, just let us know. I think we just have 2 more there. Okay, so all the bolts seem loose now. We're going to pick each one of them one by one, so that way we don't lose them, we don't drop them inside the engine. Once you remove the cover, it's very important. Okay, perfect. Now that valve cover might be a little bit stuck, so if it's stuck you can help it a little bit with a screwdriver. But you have to be careful not to crack it. Okay, you can see the valve cover came out. The gasket is still stuck on the cylinder head. Okay. And the gasket started coming off too. Perfect. So what we're going to do next, we'll remove the intake. After that, we'll need to remove the top of the air filter box. Now with the 10mm, there is one bracket here that we'll need to get loose in order to disconnect that hose. Now this is the throttle body here, and you can see that it has 2 hoses going in, one out. This is coolant, so in order not to drain the whole coolant out of your vehicle, we'll remove the throttle body from the intake, okay, so we can actually not go ahead and drain the coolant. Now as you can see in the intake, you can see 2 hoses going in, so we'll need to disconnect them, one from here, okay, and one from down there. So we'll go ahead and disconnect those now. So now that wiring harness will need to be disconnected from the intake. On this one, okay, you just press those two things towards each other and you pull it out. Okay, like that. Disconnecting the wires one by one. Now, right here, you go underneath and there is two more clamps, the same kind, that we just undid on top, and we'll need to disconnect that wiring harness from the intake as well. Now there is one bolt underneath that holds the intake. So with a 12mm socket, okay, you see where the bolt is. I cannot go underneath and show you because I cannot get the camera in there. Once we remove it, I'll show you exactly where it is. Make sure you stay until the end, we'll share something important as well. Okay, this is the bolt, we removed it. Next we'll need to use a 12mm socket to remove the bolts that hold the intake towards the cylinder head. The two on top, guys, they're nuts, not bolts, my bad. And the other ones are bolts, pretty long bolts. You can see the intake is out of the way, so we can show you a little bit better how to remove the alternator too. That bolt right here will need to be loose. On the side right here with the 12mm you have another bolt that you need to get loose, and after that you get that bolt loose. This is the manual tensioner and the belt will come off. We have the video on the channel if you want to see how to remove the belt. Most of you will know, so we didn't include it in this one, we already did it earlier. And you have to make sure your battery is disconnected before you proceed removing the alternator, because otherwise you can catch your car on fire or burn the car computer. Now that 12mm bolt on the side for the tensioner will need to be removed, that way we can remove the alternator. Okay, it came out. Now we need to disconnect the wires. This one you press in and pull it out. Okay, it came loose. Now this is a nut there with 12mm. You need to open the cap and remove the nut. After that we need to disconnect the wire that's holding there, and we can pull it out. So next we'll need to support the engine from the bottom so we can raise it a little bit and disconnect the engine mount. That way we can remove the pulley for the water pump and we start removing the side cover. Okay, so we have the wood box there so we don't damage anything underneath, and we barely supported it and jacked it only like half an inch to an inch up. That way it will not have any pressure on the mount. 17 millimeters. Okay, we'll remove the bolt next, and we will leave the last nut. Okay, now we have to be very careful on the last nut, because if it starts dropping we have to raise it up a little bit. Okay, and we can still raise it just a little bit because it caught in the thread there. Now we will remove these bolts on the water pump pulley with a 10mm socket. And just a quick tip before we start the work: when you still have the belt on, okay, you can go ahead and break them loose, because the belt will prevent the pulley from turning. Ours are already loose, so we'll just go ahead and remove them now one by one. Okay, last bolt now, and we can pull the pulley out. Okay, just like that. This ground wire will need to be removed and later installed. Do not forget it, because if you do, your engine might not work. So now we need to remove that bolt with a 14mm. Here, I think this one is just holding the hook, so it might not be, yep, it's not holding there, but it's in the way, so that way we can remove these two bolts, and we'll need to start removing all the bolts now that hold the side timing cover towards the cylinder head and the engine block. So that will be quite a bit of bolts removing now, guys. We'll start from this side and go all the way down, around, and come back. So you can see those are with 12 now. And usually once you break those loose, they go pretty easy. Most of them will go by hand. Okay, right there. Let me show you what they look like now. You can see it just like that. Okay, this one as well. And after that we have one, looks like this one is with a 14mm. You can see this one was pretty tight. We'll have the torque specs for that we have a video for that, guys. Probably we'll share the torque specs for the cylinder head, for the timing cover. We have videos, so you feel free to check them out. Okay, it gets stuck, so with the socket usually they go pretty easy. Okay, longer bolt here. And this timing cover has quite a few bolts, so it's important to remember in which order you took them off, so you can install the same bolts at the same place. And while removing the bolts, to explain that silicone later will need to be cleaned, and new silicone will need to be applied here and here once everything's put together. That way the valve cover will seal really good. Now we have the 14mm there. And we don't even need to remove, you can see we don't even need to remove the water pump for that. We can reach all the bolts that way. So we will have the whole car taken apart on the channel. Again, if you need anything, drop a comment. We'll try to make a video, guys. Might not be the same day, but we'll try to make one for you. Okay, now we have one right there next to the water pump. Okay, this one came out. Now we have one more down there. We got loose. Some of them do not go so easy. I think there is some silicone in the thread too. Just trying to think what it is, but that side cover attaches to the cylinder head and the engine block by silicone. There is no gasket, so I assume silicone can get in one of the bolts and it will not come off so easy. Now we have a 10mm right there in the middle. Okay, this is the 10mm there. Now on the bottom I already got those loose, not to waste your time. Okay, you can see this one here. Okay, this one needs a little bit more. Okay, so let's pull it out. Now this one is loose. 4 more here. One towards the back. Okay, one more came out. I'll try to shoot from here now so you can see a little bit better. And we just have a few more now. And we have one more hidden, I think. So it's always important to check, make sure that you do not have any bolts, because if you do and you try to pry it out, you're going to crack it. So it's quite a bit of work, but it's doable by yourself. You can save yourself quite a bit of money. You have to make sure that you get everything right. Double, triple check everything when you put it together. So now this is 14mm again. We have 2 big ones. And after that, this one is with 14mm, and there is one more down there with 12. Okay, this one is coming off now. All the tools, guys, that we use will be listed in the description of the video below, so feel free to check it out. Okay, this one just came loose. Okay, let's see if it's going to come off. Or okay, we'll remove that in the way because we cannot remove the bolt, and we don't want to move the engine too much because it's on the jack. There is a jack stand underneath. Always use a jack stand. Okay, Perfect. We have to remember that this one is there. Now pull the bolt out. Okay, this one here I think it's a 14 as well. That we'll need to remove in a little bit. Okay, now this one right here. Looks like it's 14 probably. It could be 12, I don't know for sure. Yep, it's a 14. So, extension will be needed for this one or a deep socket. And hopefully that's all of them. We'll check and make sure that we don't have anything else. All the silicone is pretty tight. All the bolts are out of there, as you can see. So it almost, as you can see, it's almost loose still. Holding a little bit here and there. There is a few glides, so we'll need to make sure that it can come out. Okay, now we need to see how we're going to pull it up or down. So eventually it comes out, okay, nothing else holding there. So after we remove the timing cover, now this is the timing chain, guys. We got to it. You need to bring the engine to TDC point, okay. TDC point is when cylinder number 1 is in the it cannot go more up. It's the position that it's about to start going down, between going up and down. So that's top dead center. We have a detailed video how to find it if you need help, but at TDC those sprockets will be pointing towards each other. So this is the tensioner, okay, right there, 10mm socket, 2 bolts, it's spring loaded, so be careful, it will kick out. We'll remove the top one first, that way the tensioner will turn counterclockwise, because as I said, it's spring loaded, you'll see in a second. Okay, you can see, and our timing just got off, but that's fine, we'll be putting a new chain anyways. We recommend using a new tensioner, new chain, and in some cases you can even put new timing chain guides. I would recommend going the whole way. In our case, we'll put new tensioner and new chain only. So now we can push that tensioner towards the back and pull the chain out of there. And that glide, I mean, my bad. Now we need to remove quite a few bolts, okay, actually to remove the camshafts. We'll be using a 10mm, we'll be using 12 until now. Okay, we can go ahead. Now the way you remove all the parts will need to be installed in exactly the same order, so we will put everything in order. You can see you have numbers on top, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just remember that the 1 is on the very left. You cannot actually install it the wrong way. Do not drop the bolt like we did. Okay, it's down there. So there is nothing else holding the camshafts in place, so we can go ahead and remove one by one. Next we will need to disconnect the fuel injectors, because we have to remove that top part of the cylinder head so we can get to the cylinder head bolts. So here you have to be very careful because the fuel line will be under pressure, so wear eye protection, have a fire extinguisher on site, because that thing will spray a lot of fuel. So the injectors are out of the way, make sure you don't get them dirty, okay? And we'll proceed with the next step now. We will also remove the battery, so we have more room to reach the thermostat. Okay, wear gloves when you touch the battery, because if it has acid, it's going to burn your fingers. Next we'll remove that bracket that holds the wires to the top of the cylinder head, 10mm socket. So everything is loose on this side now, we just have one more bolt. So obviously it's still holding a little bit there. Okay, came out. All that silicone will need to be cleaned and new one will need to be applied. So we'll disconnect the coolant temperature sensor wire by pressing down on the back side and pull it out. We'll need to disconnect all 3 coolant hoses now. Okay, we have that little one here as well, and the big one. So let's see if this one we can reach. There is only actually a 4th one there underneath. We just saw that. Actually that little one, it's already disconnected. This is from the throttle body. I forgot about this one. So let's get the other hoses now. And we just have one more right here. So let's see how we're going to reach this one now. And now we need to break them loose. So it's very important not to damage them. What we usually do, we grab them with the pliers and gently turn them or push them with the screwdriver, but careful not to again break the holes. Okay, this one is coming out. Now we have the big one here. We'll get the big pliers and turn it again. Just careful not to damage the hose. You have to be gentle, just gently pull it, turn it left, right. Try to pry it with a screwdriver, but careful not to punch a hole. They tend to get stuck really bad if they haven't been removed in a while. It looks like the bottom side is stuck now. Okay, most of it I think it's loose now. Okay, just one more towards the back. This one will still have some coolant in it. Now this pipe right here attaches to the cylinder head with one bolt. Looks like it's a 12. So we'll need to remove that bolt, okay, right here. So it will not be attached to the cylinder head anymore. Okay, so that bolt is almost coming out. It should be any minute now, and then we need to get a triple square socket. You can find the link to it in the description of the video below, guys, so check it out if you need to. It's called a triple square. In our case it's it's actually M12, triple square 12. And we'll need to disconnect the other sensor as well there. That's the downstream oxygen sensor. So getting the bolts loose now, I just start from the left side and work all the way around. Those are super tight. It doesn't matter the way you remove them, I mean in what order you remove them, but it matters the order you install them in the torque specs. So make sure, guys, you stay until the end to check out all that. Okay, you can see, unbelievable. That thing is so tight. I'm halfway done. Okay, 4 more to go. So we'll remove all the bolts now. Okay, one is missing a washer, so it's important to remove the washers too. Do not leave any washers inside. Every bolt should have a washer. So now it should be loose. It might be a little bit stuck. Okay, I still have a little bit holding right here. And this is the cylinder head out of the car here. With the cylinder head out of the way, that's what it looks like. And this is the head gasket. So you can see, guys, we removed the cylinder head. Those are the pistons here, 4 pistons. So we'll go ahead and show you how to remove one of them and how to remove the crankshaft, the rod bearing, excuse me, with the rod. So you have connecting rod and piston coming up, and we'll remove the bearing as well. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like now. So we need to use a 10mm 12-point socket. Okay, you have to be 12-point and get the 2 bolts on the connecting rod loose. Okay, we're doing cylinder number 3 now, so it's connecting rod number 3 from left to right. Okay, facing the engine. So when you remove that one, you have to install it exactly the same place, and the connecting rod bearing will need to be exactly the same bearing. Do not mismatch them, because you may throw a bearing after that. Okay, the second nut coming loose. Actually bolt, excuse me, not a nut. 2 bolts. And the bottom part of the connecting rod will come out too. This is with the bottom part of the bearing. Okay, you can see there is that thing needs to be facing towards the crankshaft pulley, towards the left side of the engine, facing the engine. So you have to install it exactly in the same way we removed it. Now I'll gently turn the crankshaft while one person is kind of like keeping eye on the bottom. Okay, and we'll bring it up until it can go all the way up. Okay, remember cylinder number 3, so that will be 3rd cylinder now here. Okay, almost coming to the very top. Okay, right there. Now one person needs to actually push it from the bottom. Those are the rings coming here. Okay, the bearing dropped. Okay, you can see this is where the bearing is. Okay, and this is the piston itself. This is the tool, guys. We'll have the link in the description of the video. Comes with the pliers, really good deal. Those are the pliers for the piston rings. We'll show you how it works in just a minute. We had to remove that engine out of the car, and we had the engine block bored out. Next step, over 20, or in our case it's 0.5 millimeters. Okay, you have to make sure that everything is clinically clean, super clean. So we'll be installing the piston numbers on cylinder number 4 now. Okay, let me show you what we need to do now. So this is the piston right here, and I'll show you quick, just very quick video how to remove. Okay, how to remove the piston ring or install with this thing. It's super easy. We have a special video that explains everything, where the piston ring should be and all that stuff. So all we have to do, grab it with the pliers like that, pull it out. Check it out. It just takes a second to replace a piston ring with those pliers. So I'll definitely recommend them because it's doable by hand. We did them by hand in the video, but do that because it's safer for the rings, and you cannot cause the piston that way. You cannot cause any damage to the piston. So Now I'm just going to put a little bit of oil, okay, everywhere on the piston. You need to have a good amount of oil in the canals as well. Everything needs to be soaked in oil. Now this is the tool that we'll be using, okay. You have to make sure that it's super clean on the inside. There is no dust, dirt or anything like that. Again, okay, I'm going to apply generous amount of oil inside of it as well, like that. Now you have to make sure that your piston rings are pointing where they're supposed to, and we have the video about that. So if you want to expand the tool, it works from like 2 to 7 inch piston. Press down here and it's going to roll out. Okay, you can see in our case that's pretty big now, so that should be good. Okay, and all we have to do, get the piston inside, careful with the rings. Okay, hold it, and just, it comes with the tool, start getting it tight. What I usually do, I make the piston to come out just a little bit on the bottom, that way it can start going in the cylinder. Hold it and get it tight. I mean, get it as tight as you can. Okay, and one of the rings I just saw that it moved, so I'm going to go ahead, position it again. Okay, now it went in. You have to make sure that all the rings are in. The ones on the bottom as well, otherwise you can cause damage, guys. Really bad damage. So okay, you can kind of see the, oh, 1 second, the piston rings compressing now inside. Okay, that's it right there. So every piston should have some kind of marking that indicates it's going forward, pointing forward of the engine. Ours is the stamp, and this dot is facing the timing cover. Now on the bottom everything looks good as well. Okay, you can see just like that. Now we're going to apply a little bit of oil here, a little bit of oil on the side as well, because that's where it will be sliding out. And now let's go ahead and install it in the car, but before we do that, I'll just set it right here. I need to get oil and lubricate the cylinder wall really good. I mean, that needs to be soaking with oil. Okay, perfect. Now it might not work from first time, so don't press it too much, not to cause any damage to the rings if it doesn't work out the first time. Get it in. Okay, like that. Get it in, and now push the piston down while we're holding this in place. Okay, and one of the rings just came loose. It didn't go all the way in. So you have two options. You can do it by hand, but in our case I want all the rings to go in, and it's not going to happen every single time. So I'm going to pull the piston out and redo it again. So we will have a person to press it out now. Never ever try to pry on it or anything like that, because you will damage it. I can put that ring by hand in, but I want to show you because the tool might not work the first time. That's why I left it just a little bit loose, to show you that you need to take your time and not to press it too hard in. So I lubricated the cylinder again, installed the tool, the same one we did before. I just made the pistons to stick out a little bit more, so I feel more confident where it's going to go on the cylinder. Okay, like that. Hold the tool down. Now what I did, I wasn't holding it down all the way, and probably popped back up, and it wasn't tight all the way as well. And now just press the piston in. Okay, and you can see went in with exactly no problem. So we'll do cylinder number 1. All of them will be exactly the same way. We'll demonstrate only on connecting rod number 1. You have to use new bolts. The bolts on the bottom, they have to be new. Bring the piston all the way down, and when you do that, you're going to see the connecting rod. Okay, right here, the 2 bolts. you have to use new bolts every time you remove it. New bolts. Also, dip the bolts in oil, apply oil to them, and then install them on the connecting rod and just get them tight by hand. That will be the first step. That's what we did so far. After that, we have the torque wrench here with a 12-point socket. Ours is a 10mm 12-point socket. Torque wrench is set, according to the menu, it says between 17 and 21 Newton meters. So just check the menu, it's at 17.7 to 21.6 Newton meters. We have our set at 21.5. I want to go on the higher range. You can go somewhere in the middle, it's your choice. And now we're going to go ahead and get it tight until the wrench clicks. This is torque wrench, it's a click type wrench. So once you hear that click, you have to immediately stop. Do not go more, because if you do, you're applying more torque than you should. Okay, let me show you. Okay, what we are doing now here. Okay, listen for the click now. Right there, that's it. Okay, perfect. This is the first step. Next step, just get a ratchet, you don't need a torque wrench. And the next step is, guys, we need to go between 88 and 92 degrees angle. Okay, so you can see now we go between, we'll go about 90-degree angle. Okay, so if we start there, you see where we need to finish in a little bit. And that's gonna start getting tight now. And you will have the crankshaft moving too. And you might need to get a bigger ratchet if you don't have enough power to do it. So we need about 30 more degrees to go. Okay, perfect, that's it. Now the other one, 90 degrees. Start at one angle that you can make sure that it goes all the way to 90. Okay, that's it, right there, 90 degrees. So the first step, guys, 17.7 to 21.6 Newton meters, and the second step you go between 88 and 92 degrees. So you can see this is the procedure for removing and replacing the connecting rods. Now we have to clean that surface area really good on the side here, cylinder head, prepare everything, new head gasket, new bolts, and if you want to see that, we have it on the channel under the cylinder head removal replacement, but this is for today, guys. Pretty long video, I know, but there is no easier way to do that. So please give a like, subscribe, drop a comment if you need anything, and see you next time.